Hey everyone, welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. Kevin and Lincoln with you today, and we are joined by the coach of Team Boss, who is joining us from the middle of the Rocky Mountains, Joe Bosshard. Thanks for coming on. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's really nice to be able to talk to you guys.
Your group is going to be running a mile tomorrow live on FloTrack, 8:35 p.m. Mountain Time is when the women's race kicks off. What are your expectations, Joe, for that race?
Oh well, we've kind of built this up with the intentions to chase the Colorado State mile records. On the women's side, that's held by Danny Jones, who's now part of our team. But she set that when she was with CU, and I think it's 4:36:0, something like that. And the men, Joe Klecker ran 4:01 this past indoors at CU as well. We just want to have something to kind of shoot for, right? A goal, like some excitement, put some pressure on the athletes. They're professional athletes, and I think they need to have that pressure on them to kind of perform and do something. So we were able to get this together. Colorado Mesa University built a brand new facility, brand new track, only a week or two old, and they were excited to host us and allow us to do this, even though it's been pretty challenging to get it together. So we're excited. They're excited. I think we're in good enough shape to go for it, but it's been a long time since we've run really hard on the track.
Joe, you mentioned that it's been challenging to get it to come together. What are some of the obstacles that have been in the way of getting this event organized?
Honestly, everyone's been, I've been sending emails left and right to anyone I know that has a track, has put on a meet, would maybe put on a meet, that I know has thought about putting on a meet. And everyone's very encouraging. They say it's a good idea. Sounds great. You and your team, just 6 of us, on the women and 3 or 4 on the men's side. But then they usually hand me off to someone else or a friend or someone, or, someone, you should try this person. So I did that for a while. And finally, actually, Colorado Mesa got in touch with me. They heard I was looking. So that worked out really well. And I think everyone, kind of wants to make this happen, wants to do stuff like this. But right now it's I think it's just easier to say no and move on and come back to it in another month or two. Obviously, the severity of the situation with COVID is, it's serious and we're taking it very seriously, and we have been since the beginning. However, we think putting some people on a track is something that can be done safely. And if we have the facility and the organizers that want to do it, we're gonna do it. So, it's not just this meet. We're still or this event. I don't even know if I call it do you call it a meet? I don't know. I think it's just an event, right? It's just our team racing. We've been living together pretty close to each other. So, we want to do something like this going forward in the future. If we can find somewhere at sea level to do more of this, if this is all we're going to get this year, there are a few meets that are shaping up in August that are on the schedule. But if we want to get a full season, we need to find more opportunities like this with our team. And we have the team to do it, right? We have 6, 7 women who are very, very good. And we have enough guys that we can add a couple and fill out a field. So we don't mind having a small field. We don't mind having limited spectators, family, that kind of thing. But we do want to, I still think it's important for our runners' development and their careers, and quite honestly, keeping their jobs to get out there and be seen and to try to do something that's worthwhile.
We know that droves of legendary runners on the men's and women's side have come through not only just the university or CU Boulder, but just have trained in Colorado. And the elevation is, of course, the major factor throughout the state. But it is still kind of crazy to me that the men's mile record, in quotes, is only 4:01. How significant would it be to break not only the men's record, but both of these records, noting how tough it is to run fast and throughout the state of Colorado?
Mm-hmm. Well, it should be sub 4. I mean, there's no reason to not be. It's not that high of elevation. You can get to lower spots. Grand Junction's just over 4,500 feet. And there's been rumors and myths of former CU athletes breaking it in practice and these sorts of things. But practice doesn't go on your profile. So I think for the men on our team specifically, Nick Harris was born and raised in Colorado, in Boulder. His dad went to CU, ran for CU. Cruz Culpepper, 2 CU parents, high schooler. Especially for those two, I think they really would like to do it, right? I think that might mean a bit more to them than anyone else. Kind of living and growing up in Colorado, seeing a lot of attempts but coming up short. One of the reasons it hasn't been broken is just we don't have the meets in the summer. We don't put on elite meets. There's never a good opportunity to do it at a meet in late summer when people are fit and ready to go. Obviously, some CU athletes have gotten close the last couple of years, and their facility is tremendous. Their indoor facility, a beautiful 300-meter track, but that's usually their first meet of the year coming off of cross. And generally not, the pacing's iffy and you get someone to halfway and you're on your own to go the rest of the way. So we feel that in a race environment, with pacing, but if you get 4 guys there with around 3 minutes, the bell goes, we think that's going to give you your best shot. So that's the idea. We hope to have 3 or 4 guys at the bell. Someone's going to come up with a 59, 58, we think, and it'd be pretty cool. But if not, it's hard to say. I think honestly, the fittest guy, the sharpest guy is probably the high schooler. So he just ran 148 2 weekends ago. The other guys are coming off of some tremendous training, but it's been 20 weeks of just grinding it out. So we'll see where they are. They're gonna run hard, and I told them I'm not sure that they'll get a better chance than this in their life. So this is as good as it's gonna get for them. We've set it all up, ready to go. So they got to get the job done.
What's the target for the Pacers in both the men's and the women's races?
I've always felt that when you're racing at altitude, it's important to leave a little in the tank at the end. I think you'd rather go out a touch too slow than a touch too fast. Anytime you go over the line, it's kind of over. You'd love to see kind of a negative split basically from the gun, 61, 60, 60, 59 type of thing, I think when you ease into it at altitude is the way to go. If you're stretched after the first lap, you're just not going to get it back. It's not going to feel good. It's just going to get worse. 4,500 feet is not so high. You don't have to worry about it as much as if when we're training at 7,700 feet or racing. But we'd like to give them, I'd rather see 301, 302, at the bell kicking 58 than out in 58 or 57. So that's kind of the most important thing. I think that first 200, that first 300 is the most important part of this race for them. And on the women's side, that record I think is, I wouldn't say it's soft at all. But I think we have more women who are further under it than on the guy side. So I think the women, we shoot for 430 and just kind of go straight 67s on that one. 68. Although we're relying on a marathoner to do that for us, so we'll see how that
she's gonna run 70s forever until the lights come on.
I mean, I was not gonna. So Laura Thu's pacing the women, right? So I wasn't gonna have her do it. I was like, you can come watch. I guess I don't know what I don't know. I don't think it's something you'd want to do, but she convinced me last week to run an 800, and our whole team was running an 8. And she ran like 2:15, and she was fired up. And I was like, "All right, you can pace it. You got it." So she was dialed in. She had her race kit on. She was ready to go to prove that she could pace this thing. So our future is on her shoulders. And but you know what? She's such a gamer. She's probably the toughest woman on our team. So I think she'll get it done.
You mentioned Cruz earlier. Obviously, aside from genetics with his parents, what makes him so special? What makes him different?
Well, what makes him different is 2 Olympian parents. That is true. I mean, you can't deny that. I think he got both of his mom and his dad in a perfect blend. But Cruz is an incredibly determined, fiery athlete. He really wants to be good. He follows the sport very closely, probably too closely for my liking. I mean, he knows exactly, he kind of has what he wants to do, what stuff feels good for him. He knows his body. He's really smart about when he feels like he needs to back off. And as an 18-year-old, or really 17-year-old, he just turned 18. That's pretty unique. I think most of the time, you'd find someone of that age that just wants to go, and no thought of what they're doing. But I assume that's something that a lot of high schoolers now, with the internet, so much information, and they're constantly connected and talking, and he knows what all these guys are up to. But he's really, I think he's someone that races better than he trains, which is always, I like that in an athlete. I'd rather them race better than they train. But when he gets on the line, he's really fiery. He really wants to accomplish some cool things as a runner, and he takes his running very seriously. And I give him a lot of credit when going through this. I think it would have been easy just to cash it in and have a nice summer and be a high schooler and get ready to go to the University of Washington. But he wanted to get this done, and he wanted to accomplish a few things, and he's put off a lot of his, high school, in between high school and college summer to continue to train and to continue to focus. And it's been really, really, really cool to see from him. And he's, I don't know, like I said, he ran 148 2 weeks ago, and off of, not racing for quite a while, and looked great doing it. He came back and paced the mile an hour later in 2:30, 2:31 in the K, and he's just a tremendous athlete. I mean, I think he's the best recruit in the country. I'm biased, but I think Andy got the best recruit in the country out of him.
Aside from the records and trying to break 4 minutes and get these fast marks this weekend, we know that, of course, this is a big portion of this is raising money for the Sachs Foundation, a nonprofit that goes to Black students looking to go to college. I read in David Monteith's article, like, kind of how it came to be that you were having conversations. Of course, we all know what happened with George Floyd and what happened kind of with the reckoning of Black Americans being mistreated in this country. But I'm curious what the conversations were like with you and your team, with you and Aisha, about how you settled on the Sachs Foundation as the kind of the nonprofit at the center of this whole event.
Right. Yeah, I think, right now we have to be aware, right, of the civil rights movement, coronavirus, all these things. And so when we're trying to put on an event like this, it would be callous of us, I believe, as a team, to ignore it, to just go about our day, go about our business without making a mention of anything, right? It would be weird. That wouldn't sit right. After George Floyd's death, when, civil unrest, protests throughout the country, I do always address the team when there are things that I believe are important, when there are either social issues or even just within track and field, right? You'd have, whether it was, when Mary Kane kind of came out with her experience as an athlete, or, females in sport with, abuse and power from coaches. Those are things we address as a team, whether it comes out publicly or not. Like this is, we've always felt that as a team that we need to be the people doing better. And that's an important part of our team. So when we decided, when the event was going to happen, this race was going to happen, what can we do? I told the team, right, I'm not a social media guy. I don't post much. I don't share my opinions publicly generally. What can we do? And I'm more of a, actions speak louder than words is kind of what I told them, right? And that's always been the case. They know that from me. Actions speak louder than words. So what we always have felt our team has done is provided opportunities. We have a lot of, not, I wouldn't say second chance athletes, but we have athletes looking kind of for my first thing didn't work. Here's my second thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll try it here, right? And that's our whole team. I mean, it's most of them second, third kind of groups, teams, whatever, for various reasons. Everyone's got their different reasons, but it's to provide an opportunity in a different environment, right? We're not a branded group, not going to be, for that reason. It makes it a little harder, I think, on us to make all this work, but we figure it out. So our MO is to provide opportunities. We want to create opportunities, whether it's through our racing or through something we can do with our platform. So the best thing we thought is, the state of Colorado, we're hyper local. I think running, when you want to make a difference in running, it's just being hyper local, staying within your state can do so much. So Colorado has been, it's a tremendous place to live. We love it. We think it's one of the best states in the country, that kind of thing. And Colorado supported us. The state supported us. CU has supported us. Taxpayer dollars, things like that. So we looked into it, and Aisha spearheaded it. I told her, find some options. Let's look for something. But these are the kind of criteria. We want to create opportunities. So she found the Sachs Foundation. She had a wonderful conversation with the people in charge there. They've been doing this since 1930. Their first recipient was a middle distance runner out of Colorado Springs who, I think the story's on our PledgeIt page, but he was a middle distance runner. He was trying to qualify for the Olympics. He was, the trials or whatever the qualifying procedure was then was in Boston. The official group wouldn't pay for his transportation to Boston on the train because he was black. So he hitchhiked his way there. He got his way to Boston. At the time, it took him like forever, 17 days or something. He didn't make the team, but he was a tremendous athlete. And their first scholarship they ever gave was to this middle distance runner. And since then, they've done thousands of scholarships and things like that. So anytime, when we're talking about education or someone wants to go to college or, and can't do it, for me, that's always going to be, I'm going to head there to start with. And I think our team agrees to the power of, college education or secondary education. If you want to do that, that's something you should be able to do. And so I just looked, I think we're at $19,000. So I think we're going to be over 20,000, our goal. And that's something that we'll continue to do. We don't want it to be a one and done that, we did our thing, wash our hands, we're done, right? No.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that we can do as a team with our platform. And whether the scenario changes, whether what we're pushing for, what we're speaking of about changes, we'll see. But these are things as a team that are important to us. We believe that, eyeballs are on us. Our team is well known. I think we have some of the better known, especially women in the country. And so it's not just about running in circles all the time, right? It's we can provide some opportunities for others. Some of the opportunities that we've been given, we've all went to school and had scholarships. That put us on a fast track to success for sure. I mean, a college scholarship is a tremendous opportunity. So, there's some criteria, right? You have to be for Black students in Colorado, you have to be a resident, a 3.0 GPA or higher, and then some application and essay and things like that. So we're pretty excited about it, and we feel like it was a good use of our time and money.
In a normal season, obviously the Diamond League, the circuit beckons as it's building towards a championship or an Olympics. But I'm wondering if this type of model where athletes get together and try to go for a time in a time trial situation to raise money, is this something that could be a trend in track and field? I know not overwhelmingly, like I said, because of the regular schedule, but is this a way maybe track and field could start to give back in a bigger way?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see it in a lot of, and not just track. I think you see it in a lot of different, events, right? There's a charity component to a lot of this stuff. Track, I don't think we're ahead of the curve. I honestly think we're behind it on so much of this. look, if you have a team, and Bowerman's shown this, take your team, go run fast. Great. That's a good way to do it. If you just want to run fast, your training partners trust each other. There's a lot less stress on who's going to win the thing. You get a pacer that just is perfect, probably your teammate. You trust them, you just go for it, right? But in terms of raising awareness or raising funds or whatever you want to do, when the eyeballs are on your team, it's a good time to do it. When you want to, build momentum for your event, that component I think is incredibly cool. I mean, Emma and I have put on a race in Crested Butte the last few years. We didn't get to do it last year, and we're probably not going to be able to do it this year. But Elk Run 5K, and we raised a lot of money for a local charity foundation, local foundation cancer charity support group in Gunnison Valley in Crested Butte. And I think when you can tie these things together, all of a sudden you get more momentum for your race, right? There's more than just running around in circles and running a fast time. It's not that we're always begging for money. We're just trying to create a really cool atmosphere, a really cool environment. And I hate to say like give back, but we're trying to be all encompassing in what we're doing, to create something bigger than just 4 laps around the track that can be kind of mundane at times, or whatever, 12 and a half laps or whatever it is. Or, here's another 5K, these are things, and it doesn't have to just be a charity component. It can be any, these other pieces that can come together and just have something that's just cooler than the normal deal. Something people can get excited about, something people can get behind. Like, with on our PledgeIt page, you can pledge for how many cumulative seconds you think our team will be under the records, right? So if you count up every person who's under the record, add that up, what's the cumulative time? So if it was 30 seconds total, and you gave $1, that's $30. So things like that. There's ways to get involved. There's ways to create more excitement behind it, and also say, hey, they're just runners. I'm saying this in just kind of like, I think running is an important, worthwhile endeavor. Mm-hmm. How do we convince other people to feel that way too? I think doing some good beyond just saying, hey, these are just guys that run around in the mountains for fun, and I think we've seen that already with this. Obviously, it's with our race, might be the only sporting event in the country going on. So maybe there's been a little bit more kind of attention to it, especially in the state, local news and things like that. But also, I think the local news piece and throughout the state was, I think they thought it was pretty cool that, hey, there's this local foundation, state foundation, Colorado residents, it all kind of fits together. So I think, mm-hmm. Yes, I think it's a piece that track and field can do more of, a lot more of. And I think other areas have done it better to this point. Mm-hmm. But, we've done little things like this before, but this is our biggest push, anything like this. So.
On the topic of the schedule and the pandemic, this morning the news came out that the Prefontaine Classic is going to be canceled for 2020. They also
see that
canceled
this little thing here. Yeah, there's like a little ticker under here. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So you haven't known for very long. Also Paris, yeah. And they're bumping back one of the meets in England overseas. Does that impact at all your guys' plans? Are you planning on going to Europe if it's safe, or is this a domestic only season for you guys?
Yeah, no, it doesn't change anything. I mean, that was wishful thinking. I think there was some excitement when those meets got announced, but if anyone who knew kind of what was going on, it was like, don't count on it. Mm-hmm. We were joking yesterday, that we should do this race, get on a flight to Europe, and then stay there for the next quarantine, and then stay there through October, because now there's reports that Americans won't be able to get over to Europe and all this stuff, some of the new travel proposals from out of the EU. This was always going to be probably a domestic season for us. Well, I don't even know what you call it. I think the events that are technically a go, Music City Distance Carnival, Memphis, August 22nd, even those events that are technically a go, to me, they're a maybe. Always, they're a maybe. So what's been, I think, challenging is I've told our team we're going to race, and now we have to figure that out. I don't think it's useful, or I don't think it's in their best interest to not have any races this whole year. So what that looks like is to be determined. But we're planning on racing. We're training to race. We'll end our season at a normal time so that we can kind of stay with our normal schedule going into next year. Those that need standards, we'll probably try to get those early on in 2021, if that's something that we can do at that time. So, yeah, it was wishful thinking to think maybe, hey, we could hop in the Monaco 5K Diamond League, but to me, it was never going to happen. You know, it's kind of like, oh yeah, see what it looks like. You talk to meet directors, but you're just making life probably harder on yourself trying to do that versus, hey, let's stay put. Let's just try to get some things accomplished within our team best we can, do what we can do, try to go through a normal season, go through our normal training progressions. Hopefully there's races that are coincide with the training progressions and you can kind of check in and things like that. But if not, then, you know, everyone's in the same boat here. So it's, you know, I think we have to remind our athletes, like, they are professionals. You know, this is what we have to do. You still have, you know, we're still training. This is your job. We're going to come up with solutions best we can. But if not, you know, we're still going to go through a season of training and things like that.
No running fan has to be very old to remember your collegiate career. And I think probably people remember when your collegiate career. Yeah. You don't have to be old to remember that.
I barely remember it.
Well, and then people remember when you started coaching Emma, and then fast forward to today, and you have this large group. You know, by professional running standards, your group is large, and it features some of the best runners in the world. Can you go back and fill in? What was the origin story? Did you picture it getting to this point this early in your coaching career?
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. No, I think from the get-go, so I was working as an accountant, finishing up my CPA certification, tests and all that, at a tax firm in Boulder in 2016. And just as that season went along and as it ended a tremendous success for Emma that year, bronze medal and in Rio, and it should be a silver if you ask me. But if, you know, going out of that after that season, her kind of deciding, you know, I want to do things a little differently and looking for a different option and different coach. And it's like, oh, I've been around for a while. So, you know, I was under Mark and Heather for 6 years. And then the following, you know, 2 years, I was still training with them quite a bit and pacing. And I helped Kara kind of pace through her 2016 Olympic trial marathon build up, did quite a few workouts with her, and I've helped Jenny along the way and Emma. And so I was always around and there. And so it felt like, hey, you know, I'll give it a shot. If we hate it, we'll just do it for a year and move on and do something different. But shortly thereafter, Aisha, you know, she called, and I have no idea why she moved to Boulder to train with us, but she did, and we're incredibly thankful she did that. Because after about 2 or 3 weeks of just Emma and I knew that was not going to work. So that was we were already bickering with each other in the middle of a rep or something like that. So putting in another body and then making it feel way more like a coach athlete than like husband wife. It was more like this is practice and that kind of thing. So and I think you'd have to give it probably more to Aisha's early success there. And she was incredibly determined to do well. And she did very well, winning a Commonwealth gold and finishing 6th at the World Indoor Championships in the 1500. So obviously Emma's success, but anyone could chalk that up to that's just Emma being Emma, which is fine. And I think after that we've just kept the doors open, I think. And I think going back to us not being a branded group is probably why we have so many athletes. It's when you talk to someone, they say I can go to here or here, and the options are so limited. They really are, especially after you sign, or if you want to sign, you have to go somewhere. It's kind of like they want, a brand wants to protect their money, so they want you in an environment that they believe is going to has proven results. I think that just limits their risk. So we're sitting here without, as a sponsorless group, more or less. And I think that then is, hey, you can go to the sponsor group, or there's this group. So there's not another, really, to our extent, or to our level at this point. Obviously, having Emma and Aisha kind of being the leaders of it, you have to have people of that caliber, I think, to build then on it. You want to have who's that star kind of person to build around. If you look at some of the best groups, they've had that, and Bowerman and others, and so it's kind of snowballed from there. But we've been really selective, really picky. We say no way more than we say yes, just because anytime you add one person, it does change everything. It changes the dynamic. So we're not actively seeking people. I try really hard not to recruit. If someone wants to join us, it's got to come from them, because we don't have all the resources that a larger branded group does have. I think we have what we need, but it's not everything, and we're working on providing those opportunities. But we're missing a few things here and there. But what we do want to provide is a really positive, just a really positive environment. I think being on the younger side has helped us quite a bit. I think just being able to, kind of connect with everybody and have really nice relationships with everybody, and kind of think things maybe maybe a little different. I'm not set in my ways at all. I'm still learning a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes. And so, I didn't plan it to be this way, but I also didn't say no to it. If you're going to have a great athlete who's also a great person, I'd love to have that person around. Just you want to be around those people. And that's kind of the way that we've approached it. Anytime someone calls, we kind of talk about it a little bit with the group, get everyone's opinion, and it's a team effort from that perspective. Obviously, someone's got to drive the ship, so I have to make the tough calls at the end of the day, but we're open to those that we feel are good athletes, but more important, really, really good people.
You've mentioned a couple of times the lack of a sponsor for the team because a lot of people are representing different brands. When you think of these teams that have been aligned with the brands, the coaches get paid by the brands. How are you getting income from this? I guess you're getting paid by the athlete. Are you aligned with a specific brand? I'm just curious how that works logistically for you.
I know I'm wearing New Balance here, but I'm a free agent completely. So I'm available. No, so a lot of the athletes, pro athletes, do have a little portion of their contract that goes to a coach or whatever. There's a line item there. So we make it work from that perspective. And then, you know, we have to look at it from a family perspective as far as Emma and I, to make that work too. So there's, you know, I heard she has some income sources that are outside of the team. You know, we do kind of some fitness stuff with her, bands and things of that nature, that do pretty well. And then there's some opportunities for me on the side too to make some money as well. I wouldn't call it lucrative at all, but it's good enough to make this work. You know, get my expenses covered and things like that. And we talk about it from an individual perspective too, of everyone on the team, what they want, what they expect out of me. And then we go to work to, you know, figure it out. So everyone's situation is very different. We have people that are unsponsored, totally don't make a dime, especially this year. And then we have those that make really good money. So everyone's situation is a little bit different. I think everyone on the team understands that. So how I get paid, or how, you know, expenses that get covered for me, or whatever, are from an individual basis. It's not just as a whole team. So we look at it from that way. And it's not perfect right now, but honestly, it's pretty good. We're doing a pretty good job with it. We have a gym in Boulder. You know, we have every, you know, really good medical, PT practitioners that work with us. Yeah, we just make it work. And, you know, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So we're kind of, you know, we added some young athletes this year, so we're in this for a bit longer.
Cool.
Yeah, no disrespect to the accounting profession, but you gotta feel like you ended up on the good side of this, right?
I feel pretty fortunate. I'm an incredibly lucky person. I do not take that for granted at all, and I really try to work my ass off to make sure that I'm, you know, doing everything right by these athletes. You know, the way I look at it is, you know, I work for them. They don't work for me. So I work for them, and I really try to put the time and effort in to do a good job for them. And like I said, I've made a lot of mistakes and haven't done the best job always, but I try not to make the same mistake twice. And we're really pushing to be a, you know, top-notch group. And we think we're really close. This is our 4th year. I think that 4th year, it's starting to feel like things are starting to click a little bit for us.
What was the thing that you struggled the most with as you adjusted?
I think honestly, it had nothing to do with running. The X's and O's of running, training. I think that stuff's pretty straightforward. I think we honestly, coaches probably think they're more important from that perspective than they are. What is the most challenging is just life, the life stuff. So much stuff pops up, so many relationships, things going on back at home, you know, financial stuff. How do you help someone? How do you, you know, work with someone, with the things that are going on outside the track? If you just want to show up and tell your athletes what to do at the track and then go home, that's fine. But there's a lot more going on, and it shows up on the track. Those things, you know, I don't think I realize how much they do show up when someone's going through a difficult time. Maybe there's death in the family, or a breakup, or whatever it is. Those things show up on the track, probably more so than anything. Those are the things that, when I was penciling out what I need to do, I missed that step a little bit. Those are the hardest parts. Those are the things that, as a coach, if you want to be a truly great coach, you know, those are the spots that you got to be good with handling and dealing with, and making the right calls after that, or, you know, sending someone to the right place, sending someone to, you know, someone else, taking it out of your hands. I don't know the answers. I'm only 30. I don't have all the experience, but, you know, talk to this person and things like that. That's been the piece that I wasn't totally ready for at first. But every time, you know, you go through a difficult time or whatever with an athlete, you grow and you learn, and you're better for it the next time. So it's not about the training or X's and O's of that, how to put together a season. That's honestly, it's where I spend 90% of my time. I still love doing it. I love programming training. But that's not what's probably going to be the make or break of the season at the end of the day. So, that part's been the most challenging.
I'm about to turn 30, so when my wife asks me to do something, I'm going to use that. I'm just going to say I'm only 30. I can't help you with that.
I'm only 30.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in the world, when
baby.
you're in track and field, and you go to these diamond leagues and stuff, and it's an older group. Let me tell you, I'm not sure that's a good thing, but it's an older group that's hanging around at some of these meets. So I don't think I'm young, but it's just who you're surrounded by, these, some of these meet directors and things like that. I'm definitely on the younger side.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Joe, thanks
How
so
often
much
do they?
for. Oh, sorry.
Hold on, one more. I
No,
gotta
sorry,
know.
I was trying to quit.
How often do they double check your credential at these meets, making sure you're who you say you are?
Well, I just have a hard time getting a credential. So if I get one, I'm pretty excited. I mean, there's so many meets I'm going in with. I'll get a lanyard, but I don't have anything attached to it. I'm just putting it around my neck and trying to slide in. Getting me it's taken a little bit to get to know that I'm someone that I'd like a credential to watch an athlete. But if I get a credential, I'm just happy.
Two more real quick though. Philosophically, how did you put together who you are as a coach? I know coaches pull on their own experiences and maybe from other sports. What's the combination of factors that leads to the coach that we see today?
So I ran at the University of Colorado under Mark Wetmore and Heather Burrows, and was pretty close with them for, like I said, 6-8 years in there. And I think I'd be wrong to not take a lot of kind of the things that they instilled in me and the way they coached. I think everyone knows kind of Mark has his demeanor, kind of the interviews or lack of that are out there, but then running underneath him is completely different too. So, you kind of look at the way he coached and his success, and you look at someone like Jerry Schumacher at Bowerman and his success, and I think they have similar qualities. But I, like I alluded to earlier, I feel that I work for the athlete, and that was something that I was really adamant about to begin with, was working for the athlete, and them not working for me. And so that's kind of the primary principle that I kind of put up on the wall. And I try to use that to drive my decisions. There's many, many times where I'd like to speak my mind on something I disagree with, but they are the athlete. It's their careers. They are adults. They're professionals. Let them make decisions and let them make their own choices. Sometimes when I disagree, right? Because I work for them, they don't work for me. And so I try to remain. I kind of try to keep that in the back of my mind. Like I said, someone's got to drive the ship. So there are times like when we came up here to Crescent Butte, I said, guys, we got to get up here. It's as mandatory as it's going to get. But we try to work really closely together on a lot of decisions like that. And sometimes an athlete might just say, like, I just want you to make the decisions, like, quit asking. And I'm like, all right, I will. I'll just do that. But others like to be a little bit more collaborative. Always remembering that I work for them is kept me out of trouble at this point. And I think if I remember what we're truly trying to accomplish, yes, they all want to run fast. Yes, they want to set records. They get upset when they don't. But I'm not going to be someone who pushes them so far or kind of controls their life to a point that I feel is just detrimental to the rest of their lives, or careers or anything like that. So it's when they figure it out on their own, when they kind of figure out the things they need to do, choices they need to make, it's far more powerful than me dictating or anything from that perspective. So let them be people, let them be athletes, be professionals, and always remember that I work for them is kind of the way I approach things.
You're a very unassuming guy. I wonder, how comfortable are you with the fact that your group name has just taken on your name as Team Boss? Is that permanent?
I don't know. They chose it. They chose it. Yeah, you're right. I'm not like so comfortable with it, but I think, you know, but Boss is kind of cool. Like it's kind of a cool, because they kind of have taken on that word a little bit. I think it's nice to have, you know, we're trying to build a culture of really strong, powerful athletes, and I think Boss kind of is a good word for it. They look at that, and you know, we've done some stuff as a team to kind of put words to, you know, what we want to look like as a team, what we want people to kind of look at us as a team. You know, what is that vibe? What is that, you know, how do we come across? So ultimately, yeah, it's part of my name. And it makes it sound like it's my team, which I don't like. But Boss is it's kind of a good description of who they are. And they all want to be in charge of their careers. They all, you know, they've chosen this path for themselves, which right now is kind of non-traditional as a professional athlete, especially as a top tier professional athlete, because they are in charge of their careers. They take ownership, and they should take ownership in what they're doing, and not just kind of be a passenger along for the ride. So the word boss works in that scenario. And yes, I know it's going to say, oh, it's Team Bosshard or Joe Bosshard's Team Boss or whatever. But a reason I don't do many of these podcasts is because it should be about them, not about me. So it's about them at the end of the day. How they want to be seen, how they want to build this team, the culture that they want to instill, it's theirs. Take it, run with it. You know, it's yours to build. And I think using that word boss as kind of I'm in charge of my career, you know, I'm in charge of my actions, I'm responsible for my outcomes, it does kind of emulate what we're after. I think it does at the end of the day. So I don't know. I don't know if they like it or not. That's just what we're doing. I don't know. I don't have a grand marketing plan behind it. I don't have a big
T-shirts?
Model that we're building towards. I don't have, you know, we're exactly on track. This is season 4 and we're here and we've now said our name and now we'll be launching merchandise or whatever, which we might do. There's always some ways to make a quick buck, right? It's not that hard to make a quick dollar with some of these Instagram profiles and stuff. But, it's just, if we're doing something like that, it's just to keep the you know, the thing afloat and keep the lights on at the gym. So, you know, get some stuff paid for. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably sticking, I guess, at this point. But yeah, they kind of created it and built it, and that's good too. I think when they feel like they're running for something more than themselves, kind of some of these things that we're doing, right? You know, the Sachs Foundation or whatever, when they're lining up together and they're Team Boss, you know, I think that is powerful. I think that's what we lose sometimes after college. It's so easy to run for your team in college, you know, and you have so much you're running for. You know, you don't want to let people down. You don't want to let yourself down, your coach, your university. People are paying you for your scholarship. But then we kind of lose that a little bit sometimes as a pro. What are we running for? Who are we running for? What are we doing? It's just ourselves. That's hard to do. You know, they're very, you know, sweet, selfless athletes, you know, like just running for themselves. So maybe maybe that helps them a little bit, run for something. You know, we'll see. I think you see it in some other teams. They put their singlet on and it's like, hey, no, I'm ready to roll. It's a little bit more than myself.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Joe. The Team Boss
Sure.
Mile, people can watch it on Saturday night, live on FloTrack. 8:35 is the women's race PM, and then followed by the men's. Good luck, safe travels to Grand Junction, and stay safe and healthy, Joe. We appreciate your time.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
Yep. See ya.